We all have a yearning for love, but relationships can be confusing and complicated. Dr. Tammi Baliszewski says it all starts from within. It starts with a journey to center. Here's your host for Journey to Center on Empower Radio, Dr. Tammi Baliszewski.
Hello, my beautiful friend and you fantastic, fabulous soul. I'm so happy to be connecting with you here today on Empower Radio and Journey to Center. I'm very, very excited. I'm doing my very first video show so that you can either listen or you can watch. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm very happy and feeling very grateful that today our intention is finally coming into manifestation. Another reason I'm feeling very happy, grateful, and blessed is because I'm connecting with you. I love having conscious conversations with my guests and experts, but it makes it even more wonderful to have it empowered, have this situation and these sacred moments be empowered by your precious presence. And as always, I invite you to be in touch with your thoughts, feelings, feedback, anything that's in your mind or heart that you'd like to share with me at TammiBPhD.com, TAMMIB as in boy, PhD.com. Yet another reason I'm feeling quite happy today is that I'm spending time with one of my very favorite humans ever in the whole wide world. I'm sharing my very good friend with you, someone I go to when I need a healing presence or clarity about my own personal confusion, or when I simply want to spend quality time with one of the most kind, gentle, fun, funny, thoughtful, loving, generous, and listening souls I know. We're here with my wise, wonderful, and very dear friend, Lacie Caves. Lacie graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a certificate of completion in soul-centered living and spiritual psychology from the very esteemed University of Santa Monica, where I also attended. Lacie's an animal and human intuitive and a gifted clairsentient. She has the gift of being able to tap into a steady stream of information and wisdom as she listens within. Her ability to be present and listen from the heart without judgment is a rare, precious, and priceless quality. What I know from experience is that Lacie creates a healing presence for all that have the privilege of experiencing her energy. She thinks deeply, listens profoundly, and accesses incredible wisdom in a way that is beautiful, exquisite, and amazing. She's an inspiration and ripples out light and love into our community and beyond. And I'm so very happy to have her here with me and to be sharing her with you on Journey to Center. So Lacie, thank you for being here and having this conscious conversation about a very important topic, forgiveness.
Thank you for having me, Tammi. What a blessing for me to spend time with you. We always have amazing conversations, and to have a moment that we can share with others is really thrilling for me. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you all to myself anymore. You are the go-to person for me when I'm feeling a little confused or twisted or uncomfortable in my skin, and when I need some help processing. You're my go-to girl. So it's wonderful to have this conversation with you and let other people be a part of this, and again to introduce you to our listeners here at Empower Radio. So we've had this conversation a lot about forgiveness, what it is, what it isn't, and why we want to do it. So Lacie, let's just start with your perspective about this very, very important topic.
Well, what I've learned about forgiveness is that whatever I thought or knew about forgiveness before is none of that's real. So I love this truth that has unfolded for me, knowing that forgiveness is really an experience that I'm having internally. It's an examination of the energy that I am holding, the emotional and thought-based experiences that I'm having or have had over the past years with family, with friends, with the person driving in front of me, that actually that is the external experience is not really a part of forgiveness at all. And what a wonderful discovery that was.
Yeah, I think sometimes we believe if somebody does us wrong, we have to energetically punish them. It's
Mm.
like they don't deserve my forgiveness. They're a terrible person. They did me wrong. They're bad. They're awful. But when we have those kinds of thoughts, those thoughts are really infecting us. It's not really affecting them at all. It's really poison. It's like, what is it? We think we're going to throw a hot coal and burn somebody, but it's really us that's being burnt. It's a toxic energy for the one that's holding on to it. It's drinking poison, hoping it hurts someone else, but it doesn't. It really just hurts us. So to open our mind to the possibility of forgiveness is really about letting ourselves off the hook, whether the other person really deserves it or not. Doesn't mean we have to go spend time with them or have lunch or even a conversation. I've forgiven people that I've never spoken to. And I finally come to a place of acceptance and peace and realize that everything that happened was really about learning more about me and expanding in my own consciousness. It was quite a revelation.
It really is. And what the most beautiful part of it for me is that when I'm able to let go of the energy, and I refer to it as the againstness
Mhm.
energy, in any direction where I have that pointed, when I let go of that, when I release that, that creates space for me to fill with love, to have a peace experience, to have a completely different opportunity now that is available to me because now I'm fully recharged. When I let go of that energy that I'm putting somewhere else, I can point that in a direction that serves me.
Yeah, you're bringing up a good point. I have the vision of like a container, and if there's some toxic energy in this container, you're not really you don't have that space for the sweetness, the joy, the grace, and the ease. It's a toxic energy that's maybe mixed up with that, which dilutes it. And then also we've talked about this a lot. When we're putting out that vibration, when we have that toxic energy inside of ourselves, we attract more situations because vibration attracts like vibration. So if we're bogged down in this place of againstness or feeling like a victim or feeling betrayed or whatever that is, we're going to attract other situations and people of that same ilk. So we're going to continue to be a victim. That's not really that much fun.
It really isn't. And who wants to experience it once, much less twice or 4 or 5 times? And what we'll continue to talk about here today is that it doesn't have to be that way. There are some steps that we can take that are easily available to us to release that energy and create a freedom.
I love that. And the Greek word translates forgiveness literally to mean to let go. To
Mm.
let go. I like the quote from Lewis Smedes: to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. And that has certainly been my experience.
That has been my experience as well. I remember um, how profound it was and what a shift happened for me when I stopped thinking of other people as right or wrong, or their actions are right or wrong. When I realized an upset was actually pointing me toward what was going on inside myself, what emotion the emotion was leading to a story that I had created, a thought that I had formed. And many of those thoughts we formed when we were really young. We just don't have any conscious memory of that.
Mm.
And then that becomes the foundation that we build on over and over and over again. And we see these patterns and we think that this is something happening to us. And then we can eventually discover it's happening in service to us and make a different choice.
And you make a really good point because, as you have just mentioned, and I'm sure as our friends can probably relate to here, things happened when I was young that felt like it was painful, it was betrayal, and you're not really conscious of it as a child, but it is the foundation that you build on. And then you start to experience patterns. And then I got to a place where it's like, life isn't fair.
Mm.
Um, God doesn't love me. So these became really deep, innate beliefs. The world is not safe. And if that's your foundation, anything you try to build on that is not going to be solid or stable or peaceful or sweet. So for me, the opportunity came forward for a very deep betrayal in a relationship, and it just rocked me to my core, where I realized I had to do my own inner healing work. I couldn't stay in the posture of being a victim any longer. It really became the opportunity for me to have some very authentic conversations with that something greater. And what I got was, now the work can begin. And we live on a planet of free will and choice, so we can continue to tell our stories. And I had a good story, so it was compelling to continue to tell it. And I would get a lot of pity from this story. But then I realized it wasn't helping me move in the direction that I really wanted to go in my life. I was going to have to quit telling my story. I was going to have to make this all about my relationship with life, with God, with the universe, however you want to explain or describe that energy. I had to bring it all back home. And I had to look at this situation. Everything that this person had done to me was really just reflections of how I was with myself. How did I betray myself? How was I cruel to me? How did I not make me a priority? Those were huge questions to have to sit with and deal with, and it brought up a lot of tears, a lot of really deeply suppressed heartache.
It's quite sad sometimes for us to understand that initially it's quite sad that what we have created in our lives was all based on the moves that we made. And the empowering part of that is that it reveals a vulnerability. Remember how vulnerable you felt when you started to really point that spotlight back on yourself and look at what's inside of me. What do I believe? Where do these feelings come from? What are the thoughts that I formed? They were layers. You discussed the onion, and you peel them back one bit at a time, and it starts to show you more and more of a foundation that was not peaceful, not loving, but it was very familiar. And when that starts to come apart, and we start to feel a little unstable on the ground, that right and wrong can feel like a pretty strong ground a lot of times.
Yes.
And then when it comes undone and we see the truth that's actually there, that vulnerability can seem intimidating or a little scary, but actually it's what creates that power center inside.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point. I got to the point where I realized my life was built on a foundation of fear rather than love. And what this relationship that rocked me to my core brought up for me was that I was abandoned and didn't deserve to be loved. And so then I had to ask, is that how I felt about God? And the answer was yes. I was abandoned and I didn't deserve love. And then I realized I had abandoned myself and didn't believe I was worthy of love. My life was based on, again, a foundation of fear and unworthiness. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful in retrospect that things fell apart, and broke down. They say a nervous breakdown can be the beginning of a nervous breakthrough. And that was certainly the case for me. And yes, there was a lot of tears, a lot of suppressed tears that I'd probably been holding on since childhood and maybe for lifetimes. But I do believe it's important to give ourselves permission to feel deeply whatever those suppressed emotions have been, be it anger, be it guilt, be it shame, be it fear. Let those tears up and out. I was so proud of myself that I didn't cry for like 15 years. I would be referred to as a ice queen, and I thought that was such a compliment. It meant I was strong. But I think our true strength comes from our vulnerability and our authenticity, which was a very different way of thinking for me. And I bet you can relate to that.
I can. One of my favorite quotes are, "Tears are the most genuine experience that we can have, and they're healing waters." So as you let that energy release from inside of you, it dissipates. It goes away. It also can show you what you've been thinking, the thought you've held for such a long time. And then you start to see how that relates to the relationships, the choices that you made where you live, or what work you do, your friendships. It's a gold mine of information. And if we can really walk through that veil, when we come up against the fear, it's so thin. Just taking the next step forward and showing up for ourselves is the most loving thing that we can do. And it opens up a world of possibilities.
Yes. And I do really believe our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality. So as we do care for ourselves, allow ourselves to feel our feelings, cry our tears, and hold ourselves in the energy of acceptance and compassion, we literally become free. And I think that's something we all want, whether we're conscious of it or not, is to have the experience of freedom and peace and bliss and joy, which to me is the energy of God and the universe, because we live on a planet of duality, but above this duality is an experience and reality of unity. And we want to bring more heaven to earth. We want to bring more peace and grace and joy and love to our planet, but we have to heal our sense of separation or victimization, or our strong posture of right and wrong, good and bad, and I have been hurt and I'm good and right, and that person is bad and wrong. We have to be willing to give up our posture, like you said, and there can be great comfort in that, but it's not our ultimate opportunity for healing or for joy or for grace or for heaven on earth.
What I want to offer too is something that has become important for me to get beyond those stories is the element of practice.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Yes.
no replacing that. If we want to build a muscle, we pick up something that will help us, that will support us in that. And so supporting ourselves in processing through these things as they come up, and it's over possibly the rest of your life, but each time that you process any of this, something is given back in return, something is added to the love.
Yes.
So one of the practices that I have is really just holding my heart and saying, I forgive myself for the judgments that I formed around, and I discuss any situation that's really present for me in that moment. So that's just one thing that I would offer. There are tools out there available. So many people have written wonderful books about how we support ourselves, but it comes down to that seeking help from the highest power that is available to us, seeking help from our higher selves. All of that supports us through this journey.
Mm-hmm. Something that was really helpful for me was to realize that we don't create forgiveness all on our own, but we can open our mind to the possibility of forgiveness, and it's sort of like the universe can work with us and through us for it to happen. And you bring up a great point, Lacie. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens, first of all, I think by opening our mind and setting the intention, and then practice. And sometimes I think with forgiveness, you have to fake it until you make it before it feels authentic. It's taken me years to get to the point of, I think, really authentic forgiveness, where I really do feel truly at peace and grateful for the life lessons that have occurred by virtue of this experience. Because really what it did for me was bring me closer to my own heart, my own soul, my authenticity, my connection to my creator. And from my perspective, there's nothing better or more important than that.
It's a strength we've never known.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that walk allows us to experience it, open up to the possibility, and you'll be amazed at what will come forward.
And it's so true. And I just want to also say that we don't forgive others because they deserve it. We forgive it because we want to be free. Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness or not. And I think the real core message here is release your feelings of resentment or vengeance, which is only going to, again, create upset and hurt within the person that is holding these toxic energies. So to be able to say, you know what, I really want to open my mind to forgiving. I really want to open my heart to the possibility of forgiving. You don't have to do this alone. It's not a process that happens all by yourself. But we live on a planet of free will and choice, and you have to invite it in. That's where you start. And Lacie, you bring up a good point, really identifying what are the judgments? What are the judgments you're holding against this person? What are the judgments you're holding against yourself? And just being able to be willing to say, I forgive myself for holding on to these judgments. and start to really consider how you can be more gentle and kind and loving with yourself. Because again, I think we attract people who treat us like we treat ourselves, and life will treat us like we treat ourselves. So if you want a more peaceful, gentle experience of life, how can you be more peaceful and gentle and kind and compassionate with yourself?
Two things that I know for sure now are that everyone is and has been doing the best that they knew how to do,
Oh,
given the
yes.
information that they had at the time. And when you allow people the dignity of their process, then it starts to create an energy within you where you don't see them as right or wrong or harming you in some way. I
Yes.
had this wonderful quote that I came across yesterday. Paramahansa Yogananda is just one of my favorite teachers. When I first started this journey, autobiography of a yogi was placed in front of me. He says, mentally put yourself in the position of others. Then you will be able to understand them. There is no greater joy. Consider that possibility. Consider that and use that as a practice.
Mm. To me, it really ends up coming back to that place of compassion,
Mm.
compassion for other people, compassion for ourselves. And you bring up a great point in that I think we get to the place in our consciousness where we realize this person didn't do anything to me, but they did it for me, for my healing, for my ascension, for my growth. And it was such a novel concept and so kind of exciting for me when I realized, you know what, I cast this person in my life. I imagine, being in heaven before I decided to embark on this journey of being Tammi. And I'm sure this is true for you, Lacie, and I'm sure this is true for everybody that's listening, that you said, you know what, I need to learn these lessons. And so I want a person to play this part for me. And we are the director, we are the actor, we cast everyone so that we could have the experiences we need to learn, to grow, to expand. And I think that karmic pendulum can go back and forth for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes until we get to the place of saying, you know what, I want to clean this up, I want to clear this out, I want to be free. I'm willing to forgive them. I'm willing to forgive me. And I want to connect with my own soul and source for my highest good and be a healing ripple of light in the world. And I think we all have that potential and opportunity if we want to say yes to it.
We so do. And if we come to that place of awareness where we designed our own spiritual curriculum for this life,
Yes.
what does that say about what's happening? It means that things are unfolding as they were designed to, and those lessons are available for us to learn. It's
Mm.
not happening to us, it's happening for us, just as you mentioned.
And really, the more we forgive, the higher we go in our consciousness, the more we attract people that are full of light and love
Mm.
and joy. And that's why I think you're in my life. I wouldn't have you in my life if I hadn't have done some forgiveness work of others myself. So the type of person that I connect with is just kinder, sweeter, more refined, more conscious. And when we heal, we don't heal alone. We become a ripple of light and love in the world. We start to connect with other people of like mind. And then we can allow other people to exist without judgment. Everything's allowed. Everything is allowed on this planet of duality, free will, and choice. But we get to choose where we hang out. We get to choose who we play with. And that has been a remarkably empowering concept and awareness for me.
Yes, yeah, I'm right there with you. I just echo everything that you just said. And what a moment for me to know that the energy I put out is the energy that comes back my way. Regardless, free will and choice, it's about the love, it's about the fear, that all comes back to me. So I get to choose.
And the upset is within. So if we know how to handle our own upset and unravel it from the inside out, this is how we bring heaven to earth and how we bring more light into the world. And for me, there's no greater joy. Things make so much more sense now. And to my listeners, if you would like some support with forgiveness, I have a guided meditation on my website, Freedom Through Forgiveness. And I talk about it in both my books, Manifesting Love from the Inside Out, Manifesting Prosperity from the Inside Out. You can connect with me on my website, Tammi B PhD. Would love to hear from you. Thoughts, questions, comments. What's on your mind? What's in your heart? How can I support you? Lacie, how can people get a hold of you if they want an intuitive reading or if they have an animal they want to know more about what's going on in their mind and heart? How can people connect with you?
You can reach me at lacierenee@hotmail.com. That's LACIERENE@hotmail.com.
This has been such a blessing and an honor to connect with you, Lacie, and I look forward to getting you back on to the show because there's more I want to talk to you about and with you. You always inspire me and support me in ways that are miraculous and such a gift. And I'm so grateful for your presence in my life. And to my listeners, I am so grateful for you as well. Please be in touch. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go to my website, download my free guided meditation and book. You're in my heart and prayers. Thank you so much for your existence. God bless you. Onward and upward. Bye for now.